let's say you already have your own CMS website or some other system, and then you want to embed e-commerce as part of that system, you can do it rather than having a separate domain or something like that.
Welcome to another episode of What's Working in E-commerce. I'm your host, Eagan Heath from Asymmetric Marketing. We help with paid search, paid social, on-site SEO, email automation, Amazon, and more. So check us out at asymmetric.pro. Today, I interviewed Amandeep Singh, and he's from Cronix, as well as Big C Experts. Big C as in BigCommerce Experts. And he and his team are just great at development and all kinds of technical things and basically stitching the data together. He's great at talking clients through when to use which tools like Shopify versus BigCommerce, as well as when they can save money using the App Store versus developing something in-house. Amandeep, welcome.
Yeah, thank you for having me here. Yeah, really appreciate
Great
it.
to have you on. Yeah, I know you've been doing development a long time. I know you guys do a lot in the BigCommerce space. It sounds like you work with other platforms as well. When you're working with a client, how do you determine what are the right tools to use and what's the right e-commerce platform?
Yeah. Basically, what we go with whatever the right for the client. We just don't go with okay, this is the platform we expertise in. Like we will just go with that platform. We understand the client's requirement. I have been to this e-commerce industry for more than a decade now, almost 14 years. So I have tackled a lot of different industries. So the idea is to understand the requirements, see what fits their budget, what fits their basically long-term goals and the requirements. And yeah, that's how I suggest which platform will work for them.
Yeah, and maybe we could dig into some of the specifics on that. Is it a number of SKUs, number of variations on the products? When do you guide someone to BigCommerce versus another platform?
Yeah, I think that in the past, maybe a year ago, I would say whenever someone is looking for a SaaS platform in a B2B, my usual recommendation was to go with a BigCommerce because BigCommerce allows B2B and B2C in a very lower budget. For example, you with a plus plan, which is around $300 or less than $300. So you can actually get a B2B and B2C functionality in a single plan. But definitely there are a lot of factors like are there number of SKU, number of variant options kind of thing, or what kind of integration they're looking for. Are they looking for their own payment options rather than going in, let's say, Shopify payments or something like that? Or what are the tax solution, what are the shipping things and all? So yeah, it is definitely a lot of factors we consider when we are suggesting any platform.
Yeah, I heard you say B2B in there as well. Is it they're selling wholesale to retailers or you're working with businesses where they're just doing straight B2B e-commerce?
Yeah, we have worked with basically websites which are just selling on a B2B, but they do want to show the product information, but they don't want people to buy online. It will be a showcase, but once they get approved, then they are able to buy it. So you can get this functionality in a BigCommerce, like a 300 plan, but in a Shopify, you are able to get this under Shopify Plus. Earlier, people used to use apps, but now Shopify has started supporting this natively, yeah, as well.
Are there times when you see businesses where you feel like they're on the wrong platform? Of maybe they have a high number of SKUs and variations. Maybe they're doing this sort of B2B piece where there should really be a login for retailers or wholesalers or something like that. Are there times when you say, "Ooh, you guys are on the wrong technology"?
Yeah, it has happened a number of times. I would say they're either sometimes on a wrong platform because of a lot of years of tech debt, and then even though they want to change it, they cannot change it. So that is something happens because they just keep adding more and more stuff. So it definitely happens pretty often.
Yeah. Now, maybe you could explain technical debt. A lot of people watching and listening to this are marketers and brand owners, but it's a very important concept. And I think for them to hear it from you, who has this technical expertise, that'd be helpful. So, can you define what is technical debt?
Yeah, I'll give an example. So I'm working on a project. So they are on a platform. I'll just not name the name of the platform, but basically, so let's say they are on a platform. They have almost 1 million SKUs. Okay. The technical SKUs are the total number of products they have, they're around like 25,000 to 40,000. But because of the wrong architecture, because of the platform's limitations, they have to figure it out, what are the ways or hacks and tricks to make it work for that particular platform, right? which is causing like a lot of additional tech stack things just to make it work, and that causes the inventory issues, that causes the pricing issues, because now the thing is they have used one same SKUs multiple times. Now when they're integrating the ERP to inventory from ERP to a particular platform, it just doesn't sync one to many very nicely, and it's just a slow, it's bad user experience, and they cannot change it very quickly because they have POS system attached to it, they have ERP. It's just like it will take them almost a year to do that kind of thing, and also operational is a big deal.
Yeah. And just to be very high level about it too, if when you're in a business and you have a lot of debt, you have to make interest payments and you're not even paying down the principal. Similarly, when you have technical debt, it's costing you money, it's costing you an efficiency until you may have to have a big upfront investment to improve your technology, but ultimately that will pay off. It's like solar panels or electric cars or something like that. Is that the idea?
Yeah, I think what happens is like a lot of times people ignore, or not, the operational problems gets ignored, how much time they actually adds to solve these problems. Recently I'm working on another client which they're using CRM and they're doing a shipments or delivery, and just because they were using QuickBooks Desktop, and I know that the person who was managing the QuickBooks Desktop, she wasn't able to take a time off, or even if she was on a vacation, she was always on the work to basically, if there will be a problem, she has to help with them. But now they moved to QuickBooks Online, so it's a bit better. Like there's a little bit of stress, there's a little bit of these operational things where you are adding a lot of man hours into that, which you can save it by choosing a right tech stack and the right platform. Yep.
Yeah, I mentioned the kind of that ongoing cost versus the upfront cost. My brother's a developer as well, and he talks about he's got a client where they're paying him however much an hour to work on this antiquated technology, and you could calculate it over the course of months or maybe 1 year. It's like they could save that every year in perpetuity if they would invest upfront in changing the tech stack. So it's not hard to believe that happens in e-commerce and all kinds of businesses. I wonder if you could comment a bit on how you got specialized in the BigCommerce world. How did you go that direction versus WooCommerce, Shopify, or any of the others?
Yeah, no, I have worked with all the platform. I started my journey in 2009. So I started with the WordPress development and WordPress and WooCommerce development. And then there used to be e-commerce platforms called OS Commerce, Xcard, OpenCard, things like that. I started with these platforms first, but of course, like a self-hosted platform had its own pros and cons. And then the era of SaaS e-commerce platforms came up. So I have worked very extensively throughout my career in a Shopify, Shopify Plus, and BigCommerce. These are the major three platforms. In Magento as well, but I mostly did a 1.9, but not too much development on Magento 2. But yeah, then I think it's just however the industry shift happened on the SaaS e-commerce. So that's where I have a pretty good experience with that.
Okay, yeah. And just to close the book too on when choosing technologies, if someone's selling just direct to consumer B2C, they have maybe a few dozen SKUs, not too much complexity, would Shopify make more sense than commerce in that situation?
I would say Shopify is from merchant perspective, it's easy to use in terms of content management, customizer, and everything. BigCommerce is launching something called MakeSwift to very compatible thing. Yeah, but yeah, Shopify is if it's a smaller business, definitely Shopify is a good platform.
Yeah, that's great. And are there any that you say stay away from? I don't know if you get into that. If you used to do WooCommerce, do you say, "Hey, we don't touch that anymore"? Is there anything like that where you guys just say no?
No, we personally, from industry, our expertise perspective, like we do have a good expertise with all platforms in general, but we don't work on Magento. We mostly work with the WooCommerce and Shopify and BigCommerce or Headless e-commerce. I would say I do see there are some industry leaders who are like very against WooCommerce. I'm not against WooCommerce. I would say there's a use for each platform in its own space. There's pros and cons. Someone may not afford a Shopify or BigCommerce for whatever reasons, then go with the WooCommerce. That's fine as well. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
You're
great.
testing an idea, then go with that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. I know you're plugged in. You've seen a lot change over the years. You want to talk a bit about what are some of the latest developments, and maybe we could talk for store owners and marketers. What's new, maybe in Shopify and BigCommerce that they should know about?
Yeah, so I'll share my screen a little bit and show one of the things that we are doing. BigCommerce has recently released a framework called Catalyst. The Catalyst framework is like how what Shopify did like hydrogen and oxygen kind of thing, where hydrogen is the framework for developing headless websites. So they acquired a service called MakeSwift, which is basically visual editor for drag and drop, like for headless websites.
Yeah,
So this
maybe
is a
you could
pretty
do
good
it
one.
just a quick basic on for anybody who doesn't know what is a headless website.
Yeah, headless website, like when you're using different softwares or applications and combining them all together in a single application. Like for example, let me show you this example here, Amidoro. So this is an example of this is a headless website. It's a development site. So what we are doing here is using BigCommerce as their e-commerce system. Okay, it is using Strappy, which is their content management system, and it is using a diamond feed, which is from external platform called VDB. So combining all these things together in a single website, all three different components, and combining them together in a single experience. So yeah, but the checkout will happen on BigCommerce at the end. But yeah, this is an example or use case for headless where you want to use your own technology. Don't want to be bound within the native platform's restriction. Let's say Shopify uses Liquid, BigCommerce uses Handlebars. You want to develop in a Next.js or in a React, etc. You can use your own tech stack. Let's say you already have your own CMS website or some other system, and then you want to embed e-commerce as part of that system, you can do it rather than having a separate domain or something like that.
I appreciate an example with a $49,000 product. I think that sets the record for the show. So thank you for showing that. Just to make sure I understand, you're pulling information from different sources and dynamically showing it on the page, and that's part of the functionality of the site. Is that right?
Yeah. So it's a jewelry website where they are selling the setting. It's still in development. But yeah, the idea is you get a real-time diamond feed from, let's say, service called WrapNode and VDB. We are using VDB. So real-time diamond feed, and then people will select a particular diamond and this setting, which is the style of the ring. And then they can add it. They can also do engraving as well, and then they can add to cart.
Hey, what's another $49 when you're spending tens of thousands? I like it.
Yeah.
Just to be clear too, so I understand and I can close the loop too. If you would want to do this if you have information that lives in different places, maybe you have things going out of stock, maybe the prices are changing. Is that usually why people want to do this?
Yeah, people want to do it like when they're using different technologies for different purposes. Like for example, in a BigCommerce, they have a good e-commerce functionality, but in terms of if you want to have a very extensive blog, there's an example of another website was they wanted to have a scheduled publishing of the content. They wanted to have a better visual editor for their content side of thing. So they went with the Contentful, which is a CMS, headless CMS. And then for e-commerce functionality, they went with BigCommerce, and then they combined together, and where they actually get the both side of best of both worlds to get it working.
One reason that people like WooCommerce and that my business partner Mark Hope and I talk about is we like the SEO capability in WordPress. Would you ever do that where the blog is basically on WordPress on your same domain as a subpage, but then you could be using Shopify or something else? Would that be an example?
Yeah, BigCommerce they have a plugin called BC for WP plugin, so which allows you to embed your e-commerce functionality within the WordPress. So you can do that. Basically, it pulls the e-commerce data. Basically, you can call it as a WooCommerce but it's a BigCommerce technically, right? So it pulls all the e-commerce functionality into your WordPress plugin, WordPress website. So that's one thing. And Shopify has similar plugins as well. But you can also I don't want to go a bit more technical thing, but there is a way you can run both sides independently. You have, let's say, shop on shop.domain.com, and your main content site is on domain.com. You can use a reverse proxy to run your e-commerce website either subdirectory, so that it will benefit your your SEO perspective to have all the domain value going to the main domain rather
Yeah,
than two
kind of
separate domains.
you use each tool for its strength, combine them all into one
Yeah.
domain where possible. That's great. Yeah. Love it.
Yep.
And that's a good reminder for me there too of just because you're on WordPress doesn't mean it's WooCommerce. There's other ways to get e-commerce into WordPress too. So that's
definitely
a good reminder for me.
Yep.
Other developments or exciting things you want to share here?
Yeah, for the merchants, I would say if they're on a BigCommerce, they can use this tool for import export. BigCommerce has a default import export functionality, but if you are looking for a bit more extensive import export functionality, so this is a good tool to have. And
this is on bctools.io. It
Yeah.
says the missing tools in BigCommerce. What are some of those missing tools that are heavy hitters here?
Yeah, for example, if you're looking to import the variance data, or you're looking to do import of the meta fields or a bit more extensive, like in a particular format, you can use this tool, which
Yeah.
allows you to basically select which option you want to export, just like only few ones, and then you can also import it. You can also limit, like only export specific category or specific brands. You can also do import export of the categories brands, which is not available in BigCommerce by default currently. And so this is the one tool to do it. It's not that expensive. It's a per year price, $99 per year, and you can also
Would
do a
you
30 days access. Yeah.
Thank you for showing that. Would you ever use this for, say, a Google Shopping feed with Google Merchant Center?
I haven't used it for that purposes. Mostly people use it for data information management, but definitely I think it is possibility for sure. For when you're exporting it, then you're uploading the feed over there. But yeah, I personally never used it.
I know there's this whole world of front end versus back end, and maybe that means something different in development than it does in e-commerce. But I'm thinking of things that a consumer might see on the site if they're accessing the site, and then all kinds of inventory, order management, maybe dynamic pricing, or things that might happen in the back end. That's a big world where we really need a technical developer involved. Can you talk
Yeah.
about that a little bit?
Yeah, I think there are a lot of different ways it can go. Like for example, let's say some companies have merchants have a front end teams who are just focusing on the CRO optimization or just the content side of a thing, and then there's a backend which is the ERP integration, the inventory integration, or things like that, or shipments workflow tracking information, things like that. So basically, when we are doing a front end development, it is you're using a if I'm going with the native platforms, native frameworks, then you're using Liquid or Customizer for handling the front end. But then when it comes to the backend operation management, you're using let's say NetSuite or Microsoft Dynamics 365 or application workflow. So for example, here in this website, so here what we are doing is we have this sign up form, but it looks like a very normal sign up form on a BigCommerce, but technically this is a Zoho CRM application workflow. So someone will create an account here, the application go to CRM, we using a middleware API, and then they get approved on a CRM, and then from there they get assigned in a Yotpo for rewards. They get basically assigned to Klaviyo as well, and then it comes give them an email with the login access or something as well. So there's behind the scene processing, which is you can I say them backend developers. We use Laravel for that kind of technology, but yeah, that's pretty good.
Okay, great. One thing I'm wondering is just, are there apps, are there plugins that do much of this stuff, but then people come to you when there's not an app for it? Or when do you guys get involved, and when's a good time for people to reach out to you?
Yeah, I always prefer to see, like, first thing first, I don't want to reinvent the wheel where it's not needed, but I don't want to also put so many apps on a store because it also causes limit the user experience functionality on the website as well. So the idea is make it a balanced approach, right? Like for example, here we are using Yotpo. Of course, we are not going to develop the whole rewards engine or the review system. So we are using that app, but then for a middleware, earlier we were using, let's say, Zoho Flow, but then we needed a bit more extensive functionality, and then we went with a custom middleware kind of thing. So yeah, I think mostly regarding the middleware and everything, it also has its own pros and cons. Like I was working with a client who was spending around like a $17,000 per month on a middleware, and then we developed something custom, and it brought the cost down to $1,000 per month. So we have to also mix this kind of balance it out. Like, is it worth having this kind of application, which is pretty extensive?
Yeah, that's a great example.
Yeah.
Anything else you wanted to show or share screen on?
Yeah, so I will share one more plugin, which is basically this is a company called devart.com. So where you are getting like a lot of Excel related plugin. So let's say if you're looking to what do you call it? Looking to manage your Shopify product information or customer or order, anything like that, you can
So
simply
you want to pull it into Microsoft Excel, is that right?
yeah, so it will pull
Okay.
directly into Microsoft Excel, and then you can push directly from Microsoft Excel. You don't need to do any kind of import export at all. It's just handling using API. So it does have a lot of, you can see Zoho CRM integration, Salesforce, BigCommerce, Shopify. This is a pretty great tool. It has helped me a lot. It saved me a lot of hours in an import export thing. So definitely this is a great tool to have.
Very cool. And if someone's doing this with Google Sheets, is that a separate method? When do you push them toward this versus something else?
Yeah, if it's Google Sheet, there are some in as well, but for this one, it's more like Excel one. But I'm pretty sure there are some good plugins out there. I use, but not for this particular reason. I use Google Sheets for working with the Zoho Analytics. So the idea is we combine Google Sheets, e-commerce data, financial data, and combine them all together to create some reporting architecture as well. Yep.
Love it, love it. Anything
Yeah.
else you wanted to share?
So I think, yeah, these are definitely the ones I wanted to share for now. Yeah, I'm good for now. Yeah, this one.
All right,
Awesome.
sounds good. Yeah, that's great. Any tips and tricks for merchants or anything that you've really seen work well for your clients?
Yeah, I would definitely say these are the tools which are work very well for us. I used like a metrics file a lot in a Shopify side of things, where it will simply pull the data and then upload the data over there. I would say the customizer in Shopify, customizer great. The meta objects, the meta fields, you try to use those more often rather than just scrambling the data here and there. Now both are being supported in Shopify natively. And in BigCommerce, a lot of people used to use custom fields. I would say now you can custom fields has a limit of 250 characters over there, but BigCommerce has now a native functionality of meta fields, but those are actually accessible using apps. So there are apps in a BigCommerce store that you can use it for managing your additional content information like a size chart or things like that and associate with the product. So those are definitely good to have.
Right on. Who's a good person to reach out to you, and where can they find you? Maybe you could talk a bit about Cronix as well as your other business.
Yeah, so I have two companies. One is a Big C Experts and another is Cronix. So under Big C Experts, we provide a business model like a deal.com. So I every 6 months I take a 10 to 15 developers and then provide them a training on a web development, and we have the technical project managers as well, basically. So we provide them a good training on the development, ADA compliance, web performance optimization. And if someone is looking to hire a developer, so then I provide those services via Big C Experts, where they are their developer. We just handle the compliances, taxes, insurance, things like that. And they, yeah, basically that's where pretty better developers now. And mostly most of the developers will be Big Dev Expert as well, which is a certification from BigCommerce. And
Love
under
it.
Cronix, we basically provide a full service e-commerce web development agency. So we handle whatever the requirements, either the existing replatforming or migration. We are certified in BigCommerce and Shopify, and we are also just did a partnership with Shopline as well. So we do that under Cronix. Yep.
And I know you're on LinkedIn. Is there anywhere that people should reach out and find you or follow what you're doing?
Yeah, LinkedIn I think is a pretty great one over there because I'm very active on LinkedIn, where I also share some tips and tricks and some of the case studies or my learnings as well over there. So LinkedIn is definitely a good place to find me. Yep.
All right. Amandeep Singh, thank you so much for coming on and sharing what's working in e-commerce. It's great to have you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.